ocean. You say you the big fish. I'm looking for you.
Fucking goofy ass shirt.
Where your ass at? Oh, whole ass. Well, you got a lot of room to hide in this motherfucker. I don't know if I can find you in the ocean. See, this the ocean big than a motherfucker, man. We ain't gonna be able to find your punk ass out here. Got a lot of places to hide.
So that's what happened. As soon as the stoppage happened, that's what happened there. Hey, listen. My thing is, who number one in the welterweight division now?
What they do, YouTube? It's your boy King David in this thing, and I'm back at y'all again with another video. So before I get going on the video today, man, if you're new here, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and subscribe. And everybody, and I do mean everybody, be sure to hit that like button one time for your boy, so we can grow like we need to grow on this channel. You know what I mean? Alright, so with all that out the window, man, let's go ahead and get going into the video. So y'all see what the title is. The reason Bud Crawford went the WBO route. Alright, so look. If you're a real boxing fan, I mean, it should be obvious the reason why Terence Crawford went the WBO route. But if you're an Earl Spence fanboy, like this dude that I'm going to post this comment up on the screen. If you're a fanboy like this dude, then the reason Terence Crawford went the WBO route may be an excuse that you feel like you can use in order to justify why Earl Spence ain't jumping the ring with him, right? So what I'm about to do is I'm about to address this fanboy whose comment you can see right here in front of you. I'm about to address this fanboy, but not only am I going to address this fanboy, I'm going to address all the fanboys who feel like they want to bring up this stupid ass argument. Okay? So in order to properly address this fanboy and all the other Earl Spence fanboys who bring up this dumbass argument in order to discredit Terence Crawford, I found it best to actually go back to the source of the argument, okay? And the originators of the argument are actually another boxing channel, okay, here on YouTube. Name of the channel is called Loyal to the Game Boxing. Shout out to them. They do some good work over there. But they're actually the originators of this argument, you know what I mean? And really, you know, the purpose for this argument is to display Bud in a light where if he really wanted the Earl Spence fight, he could have gotten the fight had he gone the WBA route or the IBF route or another route in order to pursue undisputed at 147 pounds, right? So the funny thing, before I get in detail, the funny thing about this argument in the first place is, right, basically you're admitting that Bud is chasing your favorite fighter, but you're criticizing the way he's doing it. I mean, that's literally what you're saying when you raise this argument. It's so asinine and stupid. And dudes like Cedric Tam, okay, in that comment section who raised this argument, that's essentially what you're doing. You're basically saying Bud's chasing Earl, but I don't like the way he's doing that shit. I don't like it. I don't like how you doing it. Nah, I don't like it. No, I don't like that shit. I don't like that shit at all. I mean, that's basically what you're saying. You criticizing the way he's chasing this guy. You're literally admitting he's chasing him, but you don't like the way he's doing it. I mean, essentially, that's what you're saying. It's the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard in life. But you know, let's address this argument, right? Because this is the fanboy argument they like to bring up. This is what they riding with now. So let's properly debunk this bull ass, dumb ass shit, and let's crack it down. So in order to properly do that, I'm gonna play a clip from Loyal to the Game Boxing, where this argument originated from, like I said earlier. Okay, and we're gonna break this motherfucker down. So without further ado, here you go.
That sounds stupid. That is stupid. That's a stupid question. That's what I thought you did.
Bo Matt.
I thought you did.
I got a question.
So already you hear Bomac saying that it's a stupid argument, and it is. Cause it is, it's stupid. It's a deflection, it's stupid, it's duck language, all that good shit. But let's get right back into it. Just wanted to say that.
All right,
let him answer the question. Go ahead, Bo.
Hold on. He said, why didn't he fight who?
Why didn't he become Errol Spence's mandatory?
IBF. He was undisputed. He had all the belts. So why did he not fight? Why did he not go the IBF route since he was undisputed?
Because we went the WBO route. It's easy to go the WBO route.
You went the easy route.
Easy.
All right, so you can hear the fanboys celebrating. They got Bomac to say that the WBO route was an easier route to go than the IBF route or the WBA route or etc, etc, etc. So the fanboys are happy. They feel good about themselves. They feel like they got a W. They're for 1 second able to take a little bit of attention off of Errol Spence and put it on to Terence Crawford, because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. These dudes know Earl's full of shit, but essentially what they're trying to do is deflect the energy. They're trying to deflect attention away from all the maneuvering and the duck and dodging that Errol Spence is doing, and they're trying to put all the attention back on Terence Bud Crawford. All right, that's essentially what they're trying to do. So for 1 second of this video, they were able to succeed in that moment as far as getting Bomac, at least in their minds, because it's some bullshit anyway. In their minds, they're able to succeed in getting Bomac to say that the WBO route was an easier route to go than the IBF, the WBC, and the WBA route. This is also the clip that you probably seen around or floating around online and shit like that. So you probably seen this clip, you know what I'm saying? And this is probably the clip that a lot of Errol Spence fanboys pray to every night before they go to bed. But yeah, but let's keep it going though, because a lot of times it's just that clip, but we don't really get to hear what happened next in that particular video. So let's keep it going.
I'm talking to what's the name. Let me get what's the name out the way, right?
Okay, so go ahead, baby.
When you move up a weight class in the WBO and you want to challenge for the title, you automatically become the mandatory. So when Bud moved up to 140, from 140 to 147, he automatically became Jeff Horn mandatory.
Correct.
The man that beat the man. Okay, so either we was gonna fight Pacquiao or we was gonna fight Jeff Horn.
Correct.
Jeff Horn beat Pacquiao. So
super champ.
When we moved up, it was
Well, let's make this very clear first and foremost. As you heard Bomac say, Bud was in line to fight whoever the winner was between Pacquiao and Jeff Horn. So first and foremost, we all know that Terence Bud Crawford, we all know the ultimate goal was for him to fight Manny Pacquiao. Why was the ultimate goal for him to fight Manny Pacquiao? Well, because Pacquiao was known as the best welterweight in the world at that particular time. Yeah, beat Keith Thurman, who was the guy. But in addition to that, Bud had always been trying to fight Manny Pacquiao. I mean, people wanted to say, well, Bud shouldn't fight Manny Pacquiao. Why is Bud? Bud's actually been chasing Manny Pacquiao for about probably just as long, if not a little bit longer, than he's been chasing Errol Spence. So even up until when Pacquiao fought Eugenio Ugas, and Bud was putting a lot of energy into trying to get that fight, and people were criticizing him for trying to get that fight, but in all actuality, he had been trying to get that fight the entire time. You know, when Bud has his sights set on somebody, that's what he's looking to do. He wanted Manny Pacquiao. He wanted that smoke. Manny Pacquiao was known as the best welterweight up until the point where he got beat by Eugenio Ugas. He was still known as the best welterweight. You know what I mean? So dudes want to play dumb, and dudes want to act like they don't know what the fuck going on, but they know exactly what's going on. We hear all these dudes on this panel, they all got silent as fuck because they know Bomac is spitting facts out here. But you know, but let's keep it going though.
I agree with you.
Okay, so listen. So you just got the IBF and whatever you're talking about, they got different rules and all that, okay? They got different rules. So you go check your rules before you come back and ask me about what steps that we took. We moved up, we beat the dude's ass to beat the man, and we get to no man.
Okay, so y'all just heard Bomac. Bomac broke it down as well as you could possibly break it down. At the end of the day, the WBO is the only sanctioning body that has it built into their rules where a fighter can move up and challenge the champion right away. Okay, all the other sanctioning bodies have different rules. None of the other sanctioning bodies have it built into their rules where you can move up and challenge the champion in the higher weight class. Okay, so for the people that say Bud could have gone the IBF route or the WBA route or the WBC route, it's like, what would you have liked Bud to do in order to be able to get a fight with any of these dudes? Okay, but we almost done though. We wrapping it up. After this is done, I'm gonna continue to cook because there's more than just this to consider. But let's go ahead and let's wrap it up with Bo-Mac. Go ahead, Bo-Mac.
So man, go get a belt, win another belt. Oh no, what he doing? He got moved out the fucking crowd.
That's not.
Alright, so boom, nothing but facts by Bo-Mac. Shout out to Bo-Mac. Shout out once again to Loyal to the Game Boxing for the clip. You know what I'm saying? But again, man, this whole WBO argument, this whole argument is asinine and stupid. Like I said in the beginning of the video, at the end of the day, when you make this argument in the first place, you're basically admitting that Bud is looking for Earl, but you're criticizing the way he's going about looking for him. You're being critical of the way he's chasing Earl, but you're admitting he's chasing Earl when you make this dumbass argument. And now when we get head and shoulders into the argument in itself, let's talk about the fact that the WBO only has it built into their rules that a fighter from a lower weight class can move up and challenge the champion right away. Let's talk about the fact that Keith Thurman and Earl Spence told Bud he needed to get a belt first in order to get a fight. So if somebody tells you need to get a belt first, why would you do anything other than get a belt if your purpose is to secure a fight? So both Keith Thurman and Earl Spence told him to get a belt, but when he gets a belt, he's criticizing for going the route to get the belt. It sounds ridiculous and stupid as fuck. But then let me add to that. Okay, let me add to that because there's even more. This argument gets even dumber the more you think about it, right? Let's add to that. Okay, at the time Bud Crawford had collected all 4 belts, okay, right after he won the belt from Julius Ndongo, the IBF enforced a mandatory for him to fight Sergey Lipinets at 140 pounds. All right, at this particular time, Bud had pretty much already made the decision to move up, but he hadn't as of yet. There were still possibly a few options at 140. He was still weighing his options. But even at this particular time, the IBF enforced their mandatory, okay, which is Sergey Lipinets. So what did Bud do? Bud didn't want to fight Sergey Lipinets because it was a nonsense fight to begin with. So he dropped the belt. So at the time he moved up, he didn't even have the IBF belt in order to be able to go the IBF route. So the only theoretical routes he could have possibly went other than the WBO route, even in theory, would be the WBC and the WBA. Okay, so the IBF belt, that's the belt that Earl had at the time. Okay, so Earl fight, even in that sense, is completely and utterly out of the question because he had the IBF belt. All right, so boom, that nonsense is out the window. Now let's look at the WBA and the WBC. The WBA and the WBC, again, none of the other sanctioning bodies have it built into their rules where the champion from the lower weight class can move up and challenge the champion at the higher weight class. So what does that mean? When Bud moved up to 147 pounds, he probably would have been placed in the top 5 in that sanctioning body. So that means that he would have had to fight his way to become a mandatory for one of those belts. So we're talking about 1 to 2 title eliminators in order to become a mandatory to wait in line for an opportunity at one of those belts. So think about it like this, y'all. Think about Bud Crawford moving up to 147, having to fight a few eliminators, which would have took at least a year, and then having to wait maybe another year, 6 months to a year, to become a mandatory for one of those belts, right? So we're talking about a year and a half of waiting, a year of waiting, and a year of fighting in title eliminators in order to get the opportunity to fight in for one of those belts, okay? But then think about this. Think about Bud fighting his way into position, then the champion at the division vacating the belt and choosing not to fight him. Can you imagine that? So essentially what you're asking Terence Crawford to do by not going the WBO route is to wait around on the shelf for years in order to potentially get an opportunity that may or may not happen. Because we've seen champions have mandatories, okay, and instead of fighting the mandatories, vacate the belt and move up or move down or move around the weight class or whatever in order to avoid that mandatory. How long was Jermall Charlo the mandatory for Canelo Alvarez's WBC belt? And what did Canelo do? He applied for the franchise belt and moved up to 175 pounds to fight Sergey Kovalev. How long was Eudenis Ugas the WBA regular champion for Manny Pacquiao's belt? Ugas waited on the shelf for about 2 years for Manny Pacquiao, a champion emeritus, in order to get the opportunity which he really wasn't supposed to get. It was a last minute opportunity in order to get the opportunity to fight for the WBA Super Champion or the WBA Super Championship belt. So we got lots of examples where the champions don't necessarily fight the mandatory. So you telling me you want Bud to sit around on the shelf for years waiting for a potential opportunity that may or may not happen to fight a champion? And honestly, man, if y'all really want to think back, if you really want to go back to that time, at that time, Jeff Horn had that belt. You mean to tell me that Earl Spence or Keith Thurman or one of these other dudes wouldn't have got that belt off of Jeff Horn at that time? You telling me one of them dudes wouldn't have picked up that WBO belt, been undisputed, and probably moved up to 154 out of Terence Crawford's way? In which case, he wouldn't have got an opportunity at the belt or at any of those guys to begin with, because they would have already been undisputed and they would have already moved up to the next weight class. And a lot of you niggas would be like, oh, that ain't ducking. They just did everything. They beat everybody at the weight class, so they moved up. The same fuck shit y'all saying about Canelo Alvarez right now at 168 pounds. So I'm gonna need y'all to cut all that fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? Keep this shit 300, you know what I mean? Which I know a lot of you niggas are incapable of. I know the fanboys are gonna listen to this and all this shit's gonna go over their heads, but it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? I gotta say what I got to say. The truth is the truth, and the truth hurts. It is what it is. But I'm gonna wrap the video up right here, man. If you was feeling the video, make sure you hit the like button. If you new here, be sure to subscribe to the channel so we can continue to grow. You know what I'm saying? But I done said what I needed to say, and I'm going to see y'all on the next one. Peace.
You don't see I know Terence what you're trying Crawford? To get to. You're probably trying to say Terence Crawford. Yes. You know, that's what's going to happen. Hopefully he beats Jeff Horn and gets that belt. And like I said, I want to be undisputed welterweight champion of the world.
This is what I'm saying. I read it all. This is what I'm saying. This is what I read it all too. Terence Crawford, wait till he get a belt. Yeah. He ain't did nothing in the welterweight today. When he get a belt, you want to go over there. Keith Thurman want to go over there, and now y'all want to say, oh, I ain't fought nobody, but I got a belt.
Kell Brook now, Mikey Garcia, Sean Porter, and Danny Garcia. Who do you want next?
Oh, I'm gonna chill on my ranch. I just bought a new ranch. I got a couple of horses. I'm gonna get some more horses, get some chickens, some more